Janet Evans, and I will be chairing this meeting. It is being held via Microsoft Teams, and it is also being streamed live. Does everyone have a signal?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Councillors, can you please introduce yourself? You should have your cameras already on. I see that you do. Once you've introduced yourself, if you wish, please turn your cameras off. If we have connection problems, you may have to turn them off.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Councillor Toby Benton, Ward Councillor for Colville.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Councillor Marie-Therese Rossi, and I am Councillor for Redcliffe Ward.
Thank you. I'm chairing, and I'm Councillor Janet Evans, Councillor for Courtfield. We are joined remotely by Paul Phelan from the Council's licensing team, our legal officer, Lindsay Lemasurier. Also with us are our committee officers, Emily Beard and Holly Weaver, who will be monitoring all of our connections and help with any technical issues we may have. Before we start the hearing for this case, just a few ground rules. Please keep your microphones on mute until you are invited to speak, and please make sure mobile phones are on silent. Do keep your cameras on when not speaking if you wish, unless we run into connection problems. Please note that the Microsoft Teams chat function is not monitored, so please do not use it. In addition, this is a public meeting and the chat would not be seen in live stream. Everyone should have received the procedure for this meeting regarding the use of cameras and how to connect back in if you lose connection. Thank you. Now, I confirm that I have no declaration of interest to make regarding this item. Do the other members have any declarations to make? Councillor Ross?
I have no declarations, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Benton?
No declarations.
Thank you. The quorum for this committee is 2. As there is always the possibility that I may lose connection temporarily during the broadcast, I am nominating Councillor Rossi to be appointed as the substitute chair. Members, please confirm whether this nomination is seconded. Councillor Benton?
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. I confirm that Councillor Rossi has been appointed substitute chair. Thank you, colleagues. For clarity, I will outline the procedure of the meeting, which, as already mentioned, has been circulated with the papers and are online. First, the licensing officer, Mr. Phelan, will give a brief outline of the 10. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Good afternoon, Chair. Just to make you aware that I have a slight connection issue and will have to stick to audio only, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as I understand, there is no one to represent the premises user, Ms. Theodora Anagor. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Next, the police, PC Donna Wilcox, will present her objection. She will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm PC Donna Wilcox, attached to the central licensing team within the Met.
Thank you. Then questions may be asked by members of the committee of the police, followed by questions from the legal officer and the premises user, who is no longer here. Let me cross that out. After this, we will ask our legal officer, Ms. Lemasurier, to deal with any further questions she may have. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Present, Chair.
Thank you. And finally, we will turn to the governance team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. There will be no summing up and the meeting will end. The committee will then go into private session for 15 minutes to consider their decision. They will then return to announce their decision shortly thereafter. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers, which comprises the main so there is no need to report their content. But please do draw our attention to certain points and pages, and governance will move the document on the screen for us. Let's get going. Mr. Phelan, please can you outline the 10 for us?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Miss Theodora Anagor has submitted a temporary event notice to hold a temporary licensable event on Sunday the 25th and Monday the 26th of August between the hours of midday and 6 p.m. each day. Miss Anagor is seeking permissions for sales of alcohol on the premises at 27 Oxford Gardens, London, W10 5UF. The maximum number of people in attendance at any one time has been confirmed as 400 people. A copy of the notice and site plan are attached to Appendix A. This notification has attracted an objection from PC Donna Wilcox of the Metropolitan Police on the grounds of the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety. A summary of PC Wilcox's objection is included on pages 6 to 7 with a full copy of their representation attached to Appendix B of today's report. Finally, Chair, I can confirm that there are no additional papers in relation to this 10, and that effectively concludes the summary of this notification. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you, Chair.
Now for the police's case. PC Wilcox, please can you present your submission, and please do turn on your camera if you like. You have up to 10 minutes to do so.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the licensing officer has already outlined, the applicant, Theodora Anagor, has applied for a temporary event notice for the 25th and 26th of August. Between the hours of 1200 and 1800 hours. Initially, my colleague, PS Sergeant Steve Miles, actually was dealing with this application. Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Had initially spoke or tried to speak to the applicant in relation to what they had submitted. It appears that the applicant was seeking on sales, but when we looked at the risk assessment that was provided, it seemed to refer to off sales. So my colleague had made several phone calls to the applicant to clarify this point. What I will say is that a number of photographs were submitted, but unfortunately it wasn't clear as to whether or not this was going to be on sales or off sales. And in response to this, PS Sergeant Miles did actually email the applicant to clarify this point. Some of the issues that we needed to understand was whether or not where the alcohol was going to take place within the area, whether or not there was going to be a queuing system, whether there was going to be door staff. All these questions we needed answering in order that we could come to a sort of an understanding, if you like. If we had have received a response from the applicant, then we could have resolved this prior to this hearing. But unfortunately, as already mentioned in the representation, a number of calls were made with a follow-up text message, and we've had no response to date. I did actually contact Sergeant Miles in the last 2 days to ask whether or not the applicant had, since the hearing had been arranged, whether or not anything had been submitted, and to date we have not got anything. So unfortunately, without having all of the information, we have not been able to properly assess this. Now, for transparency, Madam Chair, I do want to highlight to you that the applicant last year had an event, and so for that purpose alone, I just wanted to highlight that. But obviously this year is different. We haven't had the information that we required, so that is why a representation has been submitted. So on the basis that we don't have all of the information to hand, you know, we don't know whether or not this is all going to the alcohol is going to be in plastics or glassware. We don't know whether or not they're going to have security. We don't know how they're going to manage you know, people that they're going to sell the alcohol to. We don't even know if it's going to be on sales or off sales. For that reason, Chair, we would invite you to refuse this application.
Thank you. Now, any questions from the committee? Councillor Rossi?
Yes, I think this is probably more to licensing. If the lady had an event last year, did she have a license for it? Was there a TANS for last year?
If you can give me a couple of moments, Chair, I'll have a look into that and
Okay,
apologies,
thank you.
feed back to you. Thank you.
If you don't mind me following up, I'd actually be interested if it was presumably it was off sales, but it'd just be worth checking if that was off sales last year, if it did happen.
And I'd also like to know, so you could do it all at the same time, if there were any reported incidents, please.
Yeah.
Certainly, Chair, if you give me a couple of moments, I'll feed back all those answers now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, there was one other thing I did forget to mention, which was within the submission within the objection letter, and that is the premises in question. One of the concerns we have got is that it's a short stretch of road, which I've alluded to, in between St Lawrence's Terrace and Portobello Road.
Right.
And we've got two sound systems, very large sound systems, that are going to be in close proximity. So we are concerned about the public safety element, which again hasn't been addressed within the actual the original application and the risk assessment that was provided.
Okay, thank you very much. Noted.
No problem.
So can I ask one additional question, Chair?
Yes.
For the police, if it is for on sales, is there the capacity in that garden for 400 people to be congregated?
There isn't. Well, in my opinion, there isn't, based on the photographs that I can visually see. But of course, I think it would be a number. In answer to your question, no, there isn't. In the photographs, I don't believe there are. But obviously, you may have a different view. I think you have got the photographs submitted.
Yeah.
But in my own opinion, I don't believe there is.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell us what the photograph on page 17 is? Does anyone here have any idea what that is?
Sorry, Chair, I'm not clear what that is.
It looks to me, Janet, like it's a bin store with something just dumped on top of it. If you look at the bottom, it looks to me like there are bins there.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
Exactly,
that's-
it's facing north onto the road is what it looks like.
So they want to set up the bar on that? Do we have?
Well, that's my inference, but yeah.
Again, this is been quite difficult, because had we been able to speak to the applicant, then we could have clarified these points, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Paul, are you back?
Yes, I am, Chair, and thank you for your patience while I looked into that. So just for clarity, there was a temporary event notice for 2023. It permitted on and off sales. It was for both the Sunday and the Monday between the hours of midday and 7 p.m. The maximum number of people requested was 10, and there was no objection from police on noise. Apologies if I missed any questions out there, Chair.
You said the maximum amount of people was how many?
10 individuals at any one time, Chair.
Oh, well, that's very odd. So she's applying for something different this year. But we cannot decide, is this an on license, on sales or off sales? What is she asking?
That's correct.
Sorry, apologies. Effectively, Chair, this year she is asking for as part of the 10 on sales of alcohol. Last year, 2023, was both on and off sales.
Okay. I'd now like to go to questions from our legal advisor who can actually clarify that. Yes?
Sorry, Chair, do you mind if I ask just one question of the police before we move on quick? I just want to ask, because it is an on-sales license. If it was amended to be an off-sales 10, then yeah, I mean, is it specifically just crowd management and queues that would be your main concern there, which is potentially can be addressed, but it's much harder than just saying we're doing plastic and all the rest of it. Okay, good. I just wanted to get that idea. I think it's probably going to be academic at this point, but just good to have an idea.
Yes.
Thank you. Lindsay, do you have any questions, our legal officer?
Yes, I just wanted to ask, I mean, obviously it's difficult, because, but I just wanted to ask the police's view on the photograph on page 18. Because I think the applicant has said, so this is like the Lightwell area, and I think she's denoted it as represents the area that will be cordoned off. So obviously it's difficult to tell from the photos, but I think, and I don't know what your view is, so I think the steps down into the Lightwell are to be cordoned off. And I think at the top part of the Lightwell, I presume there's a flat area where the bin store might be. I mean, it's hard to tell because it looks as though there's railings there. But is that your understanding too, that the actual Lightwell bit was?
Yeah, this is the difficulty, which is why we wanted to have that conversation with them, because you're quite right, they have provided this. But we just needed to visualize it. We actually asked for a photograph from further outside as well, but we've just not received anything. So again, we were asked the question. I was asked the question earlier about the 400 people. I mean, in my view, as you can probably see, it's going to be quite difficult in that area.
Yeah. Like you say, because we haven't got photos from further away, it's hard to see the whole picture in context. It's hard to see where the bins. I mean, looking at, she's done like a hand-drawn plan, which implies that the bin cellar's kind of at the top of the steps to the Lightwell.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell.
And also it was where the alcohol is going to be sold and so on and so on. There's nothing on it, which is why we asked for an updated plan in order that we could properly assess this application. But as I said, for transparency, and I wanted to put that on record, this applicant did have a licence last year.
And there weren't any complaints, not in relation to the 10, but in the aftermath of the 10, maybe licensing, Mr. Phelan may be able to answer that question. There weren't any kind of any resulting complaints from that 10 in particular that you're aware of?
There's nothing in relation to that specific 10 in terms of issues that arose. That would normally be where I would look to see if there were any issues. So, yeah. Okay.
And I think from her written kind of information, it looks like she was intending on placing tarpaulin. A tarpaulin covering the area of the bin cellar is where the drinks will be placed. So I'm guessing that would be on top of photograph 1, which is at the top of the Lightwell, I'm guessing. But again, it's not clear. But that's the only kind of, I just wanted your thoughts on that. So that's the only questions I had. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do our licensing officers have anything to add?
No, nothing further from licensing. Thank you, Chair.
And our governance officers, anything to add?
Nothing from us. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, we have reached the end of this meeting. The committee now has all the information needed, and we will retire to make our decision in private session. We will return to this meeting after 15 minutes to announce our decision. A summary determination will also be sent to the parties within 5 working days, and a full decision will follow as soon as possible thereafter. The time limit for appealing the decision will not commence until the full decision has been sent to the parties. Thank you, and we adjourn for 15 minutes. So we should be back, let's say, at 13:40.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The committee has considered an objection from the police for a temporary event notice, which has been given by Ms. Theodora Anagor, and she is the premises user, for the sale by retail of alcohol on the premises on Sunday, 25 August 2024, between the hours of 12 to 18 o'clock, and on Monday, the 25th August, between the hours of 12 to 18 o'clock, for a maximum number of 400 people at any one time. The committee has considered the committee papers and the submissions made by the parties, both orally and in writing. In reaching its decision, the committee has had regard to the relevant legislation, the Secretary of State's guidance, and the authority's statement of licensing policy. In summary, the committee decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of the case and the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, we have decided to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003 for this event. This notice means permission for the licensable activities requested in the 10 has not been approved. The committee decided that allowing the 10 would, in this instance, undermine the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, and it determined to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003. A copy of the reasoned decision will be provided without undue delay. If the police would like to appeal against this decision, such appeal must be made to the magistrate's court within 21 days from the date of notification.
Chair, I think it's the premises user. If the premises user would like to appeal.
Yes, exactly. So, in any event, no later than 5 working days before the start of the proposed temporary event, which we're already on Thursday. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you, Chair.
Questions.
Thank you all.
Bye.
So committee, are we staying in here?